This video, we're going to talk about how you create meaning in the face of a terminal illness, especially when you've been told that you have a limited prognosis, limited time to live here because of a terminal illness. My name is Abigail. I'm here to normalize these conversations and education about death and dying so we die better at end of life and use the beautiful tool that death is to bring meaning and value into our lives. Let's go ahead and get into it today. This was a question that came from one of the followers on social media asking about how do you even create meaning when you have been told that, basically you're in the face of death and due to a terminal illness. So I rephrased that question, obviously, but something this is a very common type of experience at end of life, dealing with terminal illness. And so I really do agree that it's a very important topic to cover. Before I go into this topic, there is quite a bit to cover here. I do want to ensure to always address safety first. If you come across this video and you are having any thoughts or feelings of harming yourself or ending your life, please stop, take a moment. Please make sure you get the help that you need. You certainly deserve it. And please contact the suicide hotline right away. For us, for diving into this meaning part, let's go ahead and get into this a little bit more. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk to you about in just a moment, but what's really interesting at this point is in terms of what research has shown is that the time that people have been given their terminal diagnosis to the time that they die has actually demonstrated and shown to be a time of exponential growth for many people, especially many people who are seeking meaning. This is a very natural, normal part of the whole human condition where we naturally want to seek meaning in our lives and we search for it. And particularly in a time when time is just really of the essence, there's an urgency and we really start to sense and see and feel the finality of everything around us, including our own lives and our physical bodies and their life. We really naturally start to seek out meaning. And if we can't find meaning, it really feels pointless to us. And that's where the feelings of hopelessness, powerlessness all come in. Very natural, normal feelings of end of life. But again, if you're having any thoughts of harming yourself or ending your life, that is an emergency that needs to be addressed right away with the appropriate professionals. Contact the suicide hotline. But these feelings of hopelessness, powerlessness, and just and the search for meaning and kind of questioning whether there is meaning, these are very normal feelings also at end of life to feel. Okay, so we're going to talk about how we can generate some meaning in our lives, particularly at this time at end of life. So there are 4 things I'm going to cover and then 2 more points at the very end in my conclusion that I think are extremely important. The 4 main things I'm going to cover are something bigger, and no, it's not just religion, okay? There's more to that than that. Something bigger, number 2, life review, number 3, legacy, and number 4, reconciliation. So with something bigger, that first point, I want you to just think of it as something outside of you, something outside of you. When you connect to something outside of you, especially when it's something that's related to making a life or some lives a little better, whether that's volunteering at a soup kitchen, going to a nursing home and volunteering some time there, or, giving your other half of your sandwich to someone who's homeless on the street, or putting out a can of food for for a stray animal. When you connect to something outside of you, there are 2 things that can actually happen. Number 1, you get out of this for the moment, which is very helpful. It can be just a minute or 2, or it can be for the rest of the day. Either way, you get out of this for a moment and it kind of gives you a break from that, because sometimes we really do need a break from our own internal environment. And number 2, it connects you to something bigger. When you connect to something bigger, and that's just something more, something outside of you, that can expedite your sense of meaning very, very quickly. I mean, the turnaround time in terms of, the result and the return on investment, it's just immediate and it happens very quickly. And you can feel that sense of, of meaning that you have just provided in that moment, right after it's done. So make sure you don't take that for granted by doing something a little bit that's outside of you and connecting with something that's outside of you. Okay. Something bigger. Second is life review. So what you do is you go from the time you're born to now and go through your life, look at all the experiences, good, bad, whatever, And there are a couple things that I want you to take away from this. Number one, just a general appreciation for all the shit you've been through and the fact that you're still here, because people go through so much stuff in their lives and they're still here and they've survived it all. So building hopefully a general appreciation for everything you've been through. Secondly, what I want you to do there is to look at the moments in your life as you're doing this life review that created meaning in your life. And is that something that you can apply to today, something in this moment? Can you provide that type of meaning that you found before in this moment? Number 3 is legacy, and that kind of trickles down from the second point. As you're doing your life review, is there a chance, an opportunity for you to, or would you be interested in doing a legacy? Now, I would say yes, because nobody on this planet has a story that is exactly like yours. And stories help people. First of all, we connect to stories more. We tend to pay more attention to stories versus just information. We link to stories that it becomes interesting to us. We develop a more understanding around things, around stories. And not only that, it could speak to somebody, it could relate to somebody beyond your imagination and help them out in whatever way. So by writing your story or putting it out in pictures, however methodology you want to use, go ahead and do that. And then you can either put it up in a blog online or use any other free platform if you want to do that, or a library, whatever it is, and get your story out there because it's more valuable than you give it credit for. Lastly, with reconciliation does provide a lot of meaning. So especially with maybe a distant relative with whom you maybe never had a relationship before, you just know that there's somebody out there that's part of your family, or an estranged relationship with a friend or another loved one, having the opportunity to try to reconcile can be so meaningful. It can create intimacy. It can not only allow for healing for you, but for them as well. And it may not go exactly how you may dream it to go, but then at that time you made that effort, you will die knowing that you tried to reconcile with that relationship, and that can be meaningful in itself. So that is also something to consider. So those are the 4 main things that you can do. The looking at something bigger, doing life review, creating a legacy, and doing some reconciliation. 2 points that I want to make in the conclusion. Number 1 is the Coda Alliance. I will also link that information here, put their website in here. They have a lot of resources. They have the Go Wish cards that help, with questions and trying to direct a lot of end-of-life decision-making around meaning and around many other important end-of-life decisions. So they're a wonderful resource. Lastly, you must be working with a hospice team. So look at hospices in your area. You can interview as many as you'd like. If you don't have insurance, there are hospices that are required to also take some people without insurance. They don't take a lot of people without insurance, but they are required to do some what they call charity hospice work. So make sure you contact a hospice team. Make sure you're working with a hospice team. Not only will they cover you physically and take care of your physical needs and what's happening with your own internal terminal illness, they're going to also help you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you and your assigned family and your decision makers. So you cannot die without hospice. Please don't die without hospice care. Let me know if you have questions. This is such a rich topic. And this is why, I encourage people never to wait until you actually reach this point to have these conversations, to delve into these aspects of our lives, because there is so much there that we can get from it. All right. But either way, let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you need any clarification on anything. I'm more than happy to provide it to you. Please take good care. I'm Abigail. Let's continue these conversations and education about death and dying so we die better at end of life and continue to bring meaning into our lives until we get there. I'll talk to you soon.